everyone, it's Sharona from Para Wait. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Handmaid's Tale, Season 4, Episode 8, Testimony. I'm sorry, that made me think about, I don't know, y'all try to play, when I look back over my life. I'm sorry. I got a testimony. Okay, I'm done. So, we see that the episode opens and we see Junice looking in the mirror. She has her hair in her hand and she's cutting her hair almost as if she's like shaving away. She's cutting away that part of Gilead. But I still find it very interesting that she still has the red tag on her ear. And we saw like kind of when Luke touched like her bruise and kind of touched her ear, you know, she kind of closed up in the episode before. But it's interesting to see how she's shedding Gilead off of her by cutting her hair, but she still keeps this tag on her. So I love also too that they have Portishead playing by Glory Box for that. There's some good musical choices for this. But we see that she ends up going to one of the group meetings that Moira is leading. And so it's with a group of survivors. You know, and it's really interesting because one of the women is talking about how she used to cut herself in order to cope in Gilead, that the pain for her felt like a release. It was the only way that she could really deal with everything that she was experiencing. And when Moira says to her, but you're free now, and she's like, right, but the commander is free also. It's one thing for all of these women to have escaped to Canada, to have a chance at a new life. But at the end of the day, the people who have inflicted the trauma that they have experienced, the pain that they have experienced, these people are still in Gilead living their best life, doing this to more women. So it's almost as if you're like, I'm free, but at the end of the day, these people are still free as well. So like, where is the justice? And I think that this is one of the things when they're talking about, this allows June to be able to come in and almost manipulate them in a certain way. I know y'all probably gonna give me flack for that, but just hold that thought and let me come back to it, okay? So we see that they talk about how, you know, there's hope. June gets to testify against the Waterfords. She gets to testify and give her testimony about everything that she has experienced in Gilead over the past 7 years. And so you hear the women talking about, oh, you must be scared, you must be nervous, you must be worried. And she was just like, hold up, y'all. Like, they were like, well, let June tell you. And then she's like, I'm not scared. She was like, she basically says, I'm not nervous, I'm not worried, and I'm not scared. She's like, I can't effing wait. I'm finna tell on these hoes, okay? We're the courtroom. I can come do this right now. I have been waiting. Let me spill all the beans, all the tea to put these little raggedy people behind bars. Like, what are you guys talking about? And it's interesting because, you know, at the beginning of the episode, all of these women are speaking for June. And then we kind of see this reverse when it's happening to Emily at the end of the episode. But when June gives Emily the authority to speak for herself, like, let these people speak for themselves. And this is kind of this exploration of trauma that we're seeing. And this is where I disagree with Moira, because I feel as though Moira, yeah, like, you can tell people to try to forgive or try to move forward, but everybody does not process trauma. Everybody does not heal the same way. Everyone doesn't confront their past in the same way. And I think it's very irresponsible for Moira to try to push people down this certain path to almost handle things like she did. Everyone doesn't have a positive outlook towards the pain that they experience. And it's fine to let people experience that in healthy ways, but in ways that make sense for them as well. So I'm loving this clash that we're seeing between June and Moira. It really foreshadows what we're about to see at the end of the episode, when June basically takes over Moira's entire group. But we see that after the meeting, June tells Moira, like, hey, am I getting kicked out? She was just like, I don't have anything in common with these women. Like, I'm angry. And it seems like it almost feels as though to her that these people are still in bondage from Gilead, that they're still dealing with the trauma that they haven't really let their fury show. And so we see that at the end of the meeting, this lady comes in. Emily's like shooken up because like this lady's trying to talk to her. Nobody knows what's going on. And so they're like, who is this person? You know, she tries to hand her a note like, are you okay? How are you doing? How are you feeling? And you can tell that this is very triggering for Emily to see Iris. And, you know, June's trying to figure out, like, who is this? And Emily doesn't want to talk about it. She just walks away. She walks out, you know, after they tell Iris to leave. And so June actually ends up picking up the note, and then she brings this back up. during dinner where she's just like, who is Iris? Like, who is this lady? And then we find out that Iris is the one who was responsible. If you remember when they found out that Emily was having a relationship with another woman and she ended up being hanged, and Emily actually ended up being mutilated. She had her clitoris removed. That's what is alluded to that happened. And that's why there's so much trauma when she sees Iris again. Her name was Irene Gilead, but then this opens up another can of worms because, Moira and Luke are trying to be like, why would you say that? Like when she's like, did she hurt you? But it's the fact that, even though Moira was in Gilead, she wasn't there as long as June was. So there's still things, even though she went through that trauma and she experienced things, there's so much more that Emily went through, that June went through, that other people went through that they just don't know about. And so when Luke feels like, why would you ask her a question like that? Luke, this was their reality day in and day out. Now, I don't feel like June should have pressed Emily for the information. I think it's up to Emily on when she wants to talk about it. And this is where I feel like June is still trying to manipulate Emily and trying to force her into confronting Aunt Irene, even though that might not be what she actually wants to do. And so we see that, afterwards they're washing dishes and Luke asks June, like, hey, can I come to the court with you? Like, I can definitely help. And she was just like, no, it will hurt you too much, like, to hear the things that actually happened to me. And so, he tells her that, he told Mark about the lake house and would love to talk to her about it. And she gets upset and she's just like, I didn't ask you to tell him about the lake house. Like, that's something that I just told you. So it almost feels like the trust has been betrayed. But Luke breaks down because he just doesn't know what to do at this point. And when she kind of walks off, when Moira comes into the room, he just talks about how, like, June is a stranger to me at this point. I don't know who she is. She doesn't want to talk about Hannah. She doesn't want to talk about anything. And he's just like, I don't know what to do at this point. And so Moira tries to reassure him, and it's just like, trauma is like really hard to deal with. It's a long road. It's not just June's here, she's free, and yay, let's move on in life. No, her daughter is still in Gilead. She still has trauma from all of the things that she's experienced. So it's normal for her not to be okay. And it's all right for that to happen. And this is where I kind of feel like Luke is kind of low-key annoying. Like, I still feel for Luke. But it's like Luke is trying to rush this process, or he's trying to, once again, get June to act a certain way. And it's just, you don't even understand the tip of the iceberg of what she's actually been through. And it's easier for us to understand the coldness that she has towards Luke because we've seen her journey over these 7 years. And so we see that she goes in to testify, and then she sees the raggedy Waterfords. And so little Fraggedy, he couldn't even look at her. He tried to do his little look. He couldn't even look. I was like, that's the devil inside of you, okay? You couldn't even look because you know you wrong. She walked in like, what, B? She didn't say that, but I'm just saying, in my mind, I was saying that when she walked in. But when she gets sworn in and she's like, hey, is there a Bible? And they're like, no, we don't do that in this court. He was like, baby, this ain't Gilead. We don't do that in this court, sweetie. You ain't got to worry about no Bible. Just to remind her again, you not in Gilead no more, boo. You free now, but you're not free from the mind. That's a whole nother story. Stay woke. But we see that Luke ends up coming in. And I was just like, now, Luke, she just told you no. She told you no. And the look that she gave Luke when she saw him walk in with Mr. Tuello, it's just like, respect her boundaries. If she didn't want you to be able to hear the trauma that she experienced, then that's her prerogative, and you shouldn't have been in court. And it just really bothered. When I saw him, I was like, if you don't get your ass up out of here like she didn't tell you, don't be here. I was just like, you're doing the most, Luke. Just chill. Just sit back and relax, okay? So we end up seeing that, Serena looking shook. Serena was shook. She was thinking about that. Do you understand me? And I was just like, you know what, Serena, I ain't mad at you, because I would have been shook too after that last encounter that you guys had. But we see that, she ends up talking about everything that's happened to her. And when she was saying everything, I was like, damn, girl, I forgot they did this to you too. Like, about when she was pregnant, like she forced Nick and her to have sex so she could have her baby. Then they raped her when she was 9 months because she was embarrassed. She went into false labor. Serena losing her finger. All the time she done ran away, got captured. it was just a lot. But I was happy that she shouted out my girl Eleanor and talked about how the Waterfords also led to her death as well. I was like, let's not forget about Eleanor, R.I.P. boo. So she ends up telling all of the story, and then she says, like, hey, I request you give these fools the maximum years, okay? What she should have said is, I need you to put them under the jail, all right? Underneath. But then when Fraggity's raggedy attorney came up and was like, you're an adulteress, aren't you? I said, bitch, what? I said, square up. Square up. Say something stupid again and see what happened. Are you an adulterer? Bitch, what? What they got to do with anything? And then saying, well, you chose to be a handmaid. I was like, y'all, stop her right now because I'm finna come through the screen and handle her myself. Get Froggy again and say something stupid. So she's asking this question, and then they basically, you know, they're like, hey, sis, chill out, sit down. And then Fred Raggedy behind gets up, and then he start making this whole speech. And I was like, if you don't sit your ass down, like, I just wanted to slap her right now. And then, you know, June rolled up on him like, what's good? She didn't say it like that, but I'm just saying. So she rolls up on Fraggedy, and then Fraggedy looking all shook. And then she was just like, I'm done with this, okay? I'm done with it. I'll save everything else for your trial, hoe. She didn't call him a hoe, but in my mind, like when I was watching it, I called him a hoe. So yeah, she ends up walking out, and then she did give Luke a dirty look when she walked out as well. I was like, drop the mic. Drop the mic, June. Just drop the mic after you just snitched on them and spilled all the beans. It's not even snitching. I'm not even going to call it snitching. You did what needed to be done, okay? So, we end up seeing that they go back to, they have like another meeting. And so June just walks up in the meeting with Iris, okay? She walked up in the meeting with Iris, once again trying to force Emily to confront her. And so, you know, Iris is like, you know, how are you doing? Like, and Emily's like, Beach, what do you want? And she was like, I want forgiveness. I said, I know this Beach did not just come in here after everything you done put Emily through, and your raggedy ass is asking for forgiveness? Iris, no, honey, you did not. You did not ask that. I couldn't believe it. I was just sitting there like, she did not just ask her for forgiveness after everything she did. I was just really confused by all of this. And so this is when she ends up admitting everything that happened, about how the girl ended up hanged, and, you know, Emily was mutilated. And so, you know, I'm just sitting here like, how did Iris, like, if they knew that's who Iris was, why is Iris not in jail? Why is she not in jail? Somebody tell me why she's not in jail. I'm just really confused. And that adds to the frustration, because at the end of the day, y'all are sitting up here seeking asylum, saying that you were brainwashed, yet you did all these horrible things to these women. I said, have it make sense for me, because I feel like I'm on candid camera where Ashton Kutcher about to come out and say that I've been punked, because I don't even understand how this is allowed. And so we see that June goes off on her, and she was like, why the F do you think you deserve forgiveness? I was like, June, baby girl, you scaring me, but you got a point, so I'm gonna let you keep on preaching to her. And then when she starts talking about God, and I felt her with this, when she said, all y'all do is hide behind God when it serves you. And I said, tell the truth, shame the devil, okay? Tell the truth, shame the devil. June ain't said nothing but a word. She wasn't doing nothing but telling the truth. Like, how can you still use the word of God to rape women, to torture women, to be like, it just doesn't make sense to me. I was getting heated this entire exchange, and I'm getting heated again because it's just making me so upset. I'm sorry, let me calm down. Okay, so we see that she ends up crying. I'm just like, sis, what are you crying about? And then I love these scenes, like this reverse of power. Like, you continuously see June taking her power back. You see this last week when you see Serena kneeling, and then June is yelling at her. And then when you see Iris on the floor and June is standing behind her in an authoritative position, I love seeing like these little shots to show how June is reclaiming her control. She's taking control of everything. And so we see that you know, Moira is just like, hey y'all, like let's take a break, chill out, things getting real tense. I didn't expect everything to go like this. I was just trying to do a little kumbaya, thank you Lord, and let everybody go and be at peace. And then June was like, oh well, I can stay if anybody got some more time. And then everybody's sitting there like, oh yeah, we can stay too, girl, let's stay. And I was just like, Moira, you losing control of your group, boo. You like really losing control of your group. But we end up seeing that she goes home to Juke. to Luke, and they're having dinner, and he says, how was group? And she was like, it was fine. And I was like, sis, that's all you gonna tell him? You literally led a revolution, like an uprising in group, but you just gonna say it's fine. And she gave this like weird little smile, and it creeped me the hell out. And so, Luke apologizes about coming to court, and then he said, at least I know everything now, and we can move forward. Beesh, did you want a hooray, a congratulations, like a confetti drop? Are you serious right now? Like, how are we supposed to move forward from this? And so he like asked her, like, do you want to talk? And she was like, no, I'm good. Like, you heard everything. You wanted to be nosy. You didn't want to mind your business. So, like, what else do we need to talk about at this point? She didn't say all of that, but that's just how I was feeling. Luke really made me mad when he asked that to her, like, oh, well, at least now I know everything. Like, I can't stand nosy people. They get on my damn nerves. So June, she tries to find the words to comfort Luke, because he's just like, I'm in my wits end. I don't know what else to do at this point. And so then she starts trying to kiss him. Then she starts trying to have sex. And Luke was like, girl, stop. No, let's just talk. Like, what are you doing? Like, what is happening right now? And so we see that Moira ends up having a conversation with Emily, and she tells her that she should go talk to Iris to get Iris to testify so justice can be served. But before she can get to Iris, she sees that Iris has hung herself, and it's very symbolic because she dies the same way that Emily's lover died. And then we see the red slippers on her shoe. And this is when they actually go back to group, and they're basically asking, saying like, it's okay. You shouldn't feel bad. Like, I'm happy this has happened. And then when June is like, let Emily speak. And Emily says like, hey, I feel amazing that she hung herself. I'm glad she's dead. And she hopes that she was the reason that she did it. Like, she hopes that her guilt is what killed her. And so Moira's looking so mortified. June egging everybody on, like, yeah. The one girl talking about, I chop up his peen and feed the peen to him. I was like, well, yeah, I was like, that's fair. I'm totally okay with that. That didn't even gross me out. But I was just like, June, why are you getting all these people to go crazy? And so we see, they're having this conversation, and Moira's like, you can't live in anger. And June was like, but why not? Like, why can't we be furious? Like, don't we have the right to be angry? Don't we have the right to be upset? And then Moira tried to end it, and that's when June basically just takes over everything, child. She took over the whole, she stole the whole group from Moira. Moira just sitting there looking like, damn, did this bitch just take the whole group? And I was like, B, she sure did take that whole group from you. And so, we see that she ends up going home, and she talks to Luke, and she says, I have to tell you about the last time that I saw Hannah. And so, it's almost like she's not protecting him anymore. She tried to give him this fairy tale of what this meeting with Hannah was like, but not letting him know about the last time she actually did see her and how that shook her. But let's talk about the raggedy people in the episode, okay? Also, too, I do want to give a heads up to the song choice at the end. Ended with Hell is Around the Corner by Tricky. I thought that was a very good choice. But let's talk about them raggedy Waterfords, okay? So Serena is reading all the terrible things that happened, him being in that little brothel house with Jezebels. And, she's basically like, you need to get it together. And he was like, well, bitch, how about my wife needs to be by my side? How about that? Or are you scared of June? I said, ooh, Fraggedy is being real petty with her right now. But that struck a nerve with her. And then he told her to make sure you wear teal. I was like, ooh, he touched a nerve with that one. And so we see at the end of the episode, she asks him like, hey, like, did you believe everything that you said in the courtroom? And he says, yes. Do y'all know when these fools walked outside, these dumb people were sitting out here praising them, talking about praise be Serena? Like, what was these signs? Every time I saw a sign, I just got more upset. And then look at opportunistic Serena holding his hand. Like when she saw everyone was cheering for them, gonna hold his hand. And then talking about praise be Serena and bless the Waterfords. I was like, y'all throw the whole thing away. I can't believe these people out here being brainwashed. It's probably them raggedy people who was in Gilead ruining people's lives and trying to come here and seek asylum and act like nothing happened. That's probably who these raggedy people are. But they got fans now. I don't know what the hell's gonna happen, but I know if they get off, baby, if they get off, we riot, okay? We riot. But let's talk about Raggedy Aunt Lydia, okay? Because she's really going through it. She back to harassing some new handmaids. They not scrubbing the floor to her liking. She see the other aunts talking about her, and then she like ran up on them real quick. Like, I know y'all not over here gossiping when there's work to be done. And so We see that she tells like one of the handmaids, like, you didn't get this. And the girl was like, I think it's a stain. I was like, sis, don't say that. And then she shocked her. And then when the other when the other aunt tried to get in, she shocked her too. I said, sis, you can't I get the handmaids, you can't shock the other aunts. Like, what are you doing? Everybody's standing there looking shook. I'm looking like, are you okay, Lydia? And so we see that she goes to talk to Commander Lawrence. He's just like, hey, girl, I know you're upset. I know you love torturing people, girl. She was like, that is not true. I don't love torturing people. I said, sis, are you being serious right now? Or are you just trying not to get in trouble? Because you do love torturing people. We've watched you do it for 4 seasons now. But we see that he says that it must kill you to know that June is free. And then basically she out here stinging like a bird, stitching on everybody. And then he tells her like, hey, you got to stop with all of this, sis. You got to find another way to get your anger out, another outlet. And so he shows the picture of Janine. Our girl Janine is okay. I told y'all, just wait one more episode and you was going to see that Janine is okay. And when she sees her picture, she lights up. It's almost like she's excited to know that Janine is still okay. Which, you know, Janine has a soft spot in Aunt Lydia's cold, like, abandoned heart. But he basically ends up telling her, like, hey, so let's stop torturing the handmaids and the aunts. Why don't you just go torture Janine? And I was like, wow, like, that's how you feel, Commander Lawrence? And so she ends up having a conversation with Janine. And Janine, the first thing she says is like, where is June? And she tells her like, hey, she's free. She left you. And then she was like, it's, you know, everyone that you love leaves you. But Janine is just so happy that June made it. She was like, I knew she would make it. It's almost like it gave her hope. And I love that when she tries to say that's probably why she left you, because you were too much trouble. And Janine tells her like, I don't want to be a handmaid. I don't want to be a handmaid anymore. Like, I'm ready to die. Like, I can die. I'm okay with it now. And she talks about how June corrupted her, and how she corrupted everybody. I'm like, Lydia, but you corrupted everybody. What are you talking about? You promised these women that they were going to be safe, and you let them get raped and beaten and tortured. I'm just kind of confused by that. And so, we don't know what she's going to do with her. We don't know what's going to necessarily happen with Janine. But for now, we know that Janine is alive. But I think overall for me, this is a really good episode. Just showing how much June has changed. How June is trying to take back her power against the Waterfords. I feel like the raggedy Waterfords finna get away with this. It's just some of my spirit saying they finna get away with it. But I enjoyed this episode. I'm scared of June. I'm still scared of June. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, Luke went from being fine to getting on my nerves in this episode, so I don't know what to say about Luke. But I do love the conspiracies about Fred actually being Nicole's father. Now that we see that Serena's pregnant, I don't know if someone's going to order a paternity test. I'm shocked that Fred didn't order a paternity test about this, but maybe he just doesn't have the guts to really face that his wife had someone else sleep with his handmaid because she didn't believe in him. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm kind of here for this. We only have 2 more episodes left, so I don't know how all of this is going to play out, but I'm ready, okay? I'm ready. So those are my quick thoughts on quick thoughts. This video almost 30 minutes long. It wasn't nothing quick about this recap, but those are my thoughts on The Handmaid's Tale Season 4, Episode 8, Testimony. As always, my name is Sharonda from Peril Waits, and if you like what you saw today, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends, and make sure you hit the notification bell. And I love you guys 3000. And until I see you again, bye.